Vikings, let's win the game.
Something strange is happening in Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell sent a strong message that's shaking up the locker room. The coaching staff made changes no one saw coming, and suddenly the team's atmosphere flipped upside down. Meanwhile, new questions have surfaced about the offense beyond Aaron Jones, and a serious warning has been raised about the defense. And the ending, that one's going to catch everyone off guard. But before we get into every detail of this breakdown, hit that subscribe button real quick. It's free, it helps this fan-driven channel keep growing, and it keeps our Vikings talk alive. Drop a like too, because that's how YouTube spreads this video to even more Vikings fans across the country. The first big story of the day is Aaron Jones. The guy was heating up coming off that hamstring injury, showing grit against the Lions. But he came out holding his shoulder, and now the Vikings are hitting the brakes. O'Connell tried to calm everyone down, saying the tests looked good, but the running back didn't practice on Wednesday, and that alone raised eyebrows. Honestly, it's hard not to be cautious after his history. Jones was seen emotional on the sideline, promising he'd be back soon. Fans want to believe him, of course, because when he's healthy, this offense is on another level. He had 85 rushing yards and 20 receiving before leaving the game. The difference when he's on the field is massive. He's averaging 5.1 yards per carry, while Jordan Mason, who's solid but limited, sits at 4.3. It doesn't sound like much, but over a drive, that can mean scoring instead of settling for a field goal. Now O'Connell is trying to balance the workload between Jones and Mason. The coach praised Jones's recovery and said he hopes to ease him back during the week. But fans have seen this movie before. Jones says he's ready, they rush him back, and he gets hurt again. With the Ravens next, one of the league's most aggressive defenses, that's a dangerous bet. The Vikings may have found a tougher runner in Mason for short yardage plays, but he's not a real threat in the passing game. And that's the problem. Without Jones, the offense becomes predictable. McCarthy loses his safety valve on third downs. You can feel the difference. When Jones plays, the playbook opens up. Without him, it's all or nothing. What worries fans most is the in-between, when the team holds a player back too long and loses rhythm. The season's boiling over, and every win counts double now. Jones is one of McCarthy's security blankets, and without him, the offensive line needs to be flawless. And let's be honest, that line still gives everyone a few scares. To be real with you, it's tough seeing a guy fight so hard while his body tells him to slow down. He's a warrior, no question, but sometimes the best way to help the team is by waiting. If the Vikings manage this right, they'll have the juice to face Baltimore head-on. Drop a comment if you think O'Connell should hold Jones out another week, because up next, things get messy on defense. Now let's flip to the other side of the ball. The defense is under fire, and the name of the moment is Jeff Okudah. The former first-round pick just isn't delivering. He's ranked 187th out of 189 corners with a Pro Football Focus grade of 32.4, brutal. And the worst part? The Vikings are eyeing Asante Samuel Jr., but competition for him is tight. Meanwhile, fans and media are already calling for change. Bench Okudah, play Moreau. And honestly, they have a point. When Okudah was out last week with a concussion, Fabian Moreau stepped in and didn't allow a single catch on one target. In only 24 snaps, he looked like a steady veteran. Flores even called him one of the smartest players he's ever coached. And praise like that doesn't come cheap. But this is tricky. Okudah is physical. He tackles well. He's ranked 5th in the league with an 83 tackling grade. But every game he gives up at least one deep shot. It's always almost perfect. Then boom, a busted play. 4 out of 6 games he's allowed gains of 20 yards or more. You can't trust that kind of coverage when Lamar Jackson's coming to town. If Moreau starts instead, the defense changes shape. He keeps everything in front, avoids deep burns, but gives up short stuff. It's the classic trade-off. Big play or death by 1,000 cuts. Not ideal either way. Still, Moreau knows Flores' system. He filled in last year and understands the reads. That counts in big games. The Purple Faithful is split. Some say give Okudah more time to find his rhythm. Others say his potential window is over. When you're drafted high and still making rookie mistakes, the patience runs out fast, especially when you're still in the wild card chase. Byron Murphy hasn't helped much either, struggling since moving back outside. This secondary needs help now, and if Samuel Jr. doesn't sign, they'll have to roll with Moreau. Honestly, this kind of decision can swing a game. One mistake against Lamar, and the scoreboard explodes. Flores knows that, which is why the internal debate's heating up. So, would you stick with Okudah or give Moreau the shot? Because next up, we're talking about the national media's doubt and the pressure it's putting on this team's shoulders. Even after that road win over the Lions, national media still isn't buying the Vikings. Hard to believe, right? Last week, every single analyst from NFL.com and ESPN picked Detroit. Everyone. The team silenced them all, and now against the Ravens, it's the same story. Only one analyst at NFL.com is backing Minnesota. One. That's how deep the doubt runs. But honestly, that kind of disrespect fuels a locker room. Flores probably plastered every headline on the wall. Good old bulletin board material. Nothing fires up a team more than being told they can't win. That's how you flip a narrative. Once again, the Vikings enter as underdogs, with the betting lines putting Baltimore's Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry as heavy favorites. But careful, this matchup hides a trap. Jackson's elite, no question, but he's taking sacks on 12.6% of plays, nearly double his career average. If Minnesota's defense brings the same pressure it showed in Detroit, they've got a real shot. The plan's simple. Stuff Henry on early downs, then make Lamar throw under heat. If they do that, everything changes. And on offense, it's all about J.J. McCarthy building on last week's growth. He made mistakes, sure, but also showed poise. Now he's back home at U.S. Bank Stadium with the crowd roaring behind him. He's still chasing his first 200-yard passing game. And that'll say a lot about how much trust O'Connell has in him. The offense looks smoother, the line's gelling, and if the run game clicks, this team can bother anyone. That Detroit win was the second biggest upset of the entire season. Nobody saw it coming, but it showed the Vikings still have heart. If they can pull another one off against Baltimore, the whole league will start paying attention. So, do you think this constant doubt fuels them or adds pressure? Because next, we're heading straight into a story that could shape McCarthy's entire future. Now this one's serious, and it's all about Kevin O'Connell and J.J. McCarthy. The head coach dropped an interesting stat online. Since taking over in 2022, the Vikings are 33-4 when they win or tie the turnover battle. But when they lose it, they're 4-18. That's staggering, and that's exactly where McCarthy's growing pains come in. The rookie's still learning to protect the football. Against Atlanta, he threw 2 picks and lost a fumble. And that's why O'Connell's keeping the playbook tight. He said, "We're doing what JJ feels comfortable doing right now." Translation, less risk, more control. But that shrinks the offense. And when you need a comeback, that's tough. The crazy part is O'Connell's win rate when protecting the ball is almost identical to Andy Reid's. Except Reid's got Patrick Mahomes and McCarthy's just getting started. The Vikings led the league in takeaways last year. Now they're sitting around 14th. That explains a lot. Fewer defensive turnovers plus offensive mistakes is a bad combo. But when they balance that out, results come. Just like the win over Detroit when McCarthy played clean and the team looked confident. Right now, they're sitting at 4-4, fighting in a stacked division with no room for slip-ups. O'Connell's walking a fine line, giving McCarthy reps without throwing him into chaos. And honestly, that's smart. Push too early, and you can break a rookie. Hold back too much, and you lose your edge. Still, even with all that, playoff odds jumped from 5% to 20% after last week, according to The Athletic. So the arrow's pointing up. The key is that connection between O'Connell and McCarthy. If they sync up, the Vikings can fight deep into the season. To be real, O'Connell's playing it safe, but time's ticking, and at some point, he'll have to let the kid fly. Drop your take? Is O'Connell being too cautious, or is this the right move? Because the next story, yeah, that one changes everything. And here's why. J.J. McCarthy just put the entire NFC North on notice. CBS Sports said it, and they're not wrong. After that win over the Lions, the kid showed the Vikings might have finally found their quarterback of the future. For a fan base that's been searching since Favre, that's music to the ears. Tyler Sullivan from CBS wrote that McCarthy made the entire division pay attention, and he's spot on. McCarthy scored 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air and 1 on the ground, all while coming off an injury. His stats weren't video game crazy, but his leadership, composure, and clutch moments stood out. Even with 1 pick and a fumble, what stayed was his fight. Here's the kicker. With that win, the Vikings are 2-0 inside the division. No one else in the NFC North can say that. Chicago's sinking, Green Bay's inconsistent, Detroit stumbled. And suddenly Minnesota's back in the mix. The comeback's on. And there's more. McCarthy became just the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to win his first 2 divisional road starts, joining Dan Marino and Patrick Mahomes. That's elite company for a rookie still finding his way. The excitement isn't hype. It's real hope. That victory in Detroit felt like a turning point, the kind fans remember. With the season slipping away, McCarthy stepped up and closed the deal. That 3rd down pass to Jalen Naylor in the 4th quarter sealed it. pure maturity. Vikings fans haven't seen that kind of poise in years. Sure, he'll have rough games ahead, but he's different. O'Connell trusted him with the ball late, and he delivered. That changes everything because trust is the foundation of a rebuild. Honestly, watching him play like that feels like a breath of fresh air for Minnesota. It's early, but the message is clear. The Vikings have found their new leader. So tell me, do you believe McCarthy really put the division on notice? Because what comes next, that's for everyone who bleeds purple. After all that, you can still feel the heartbeat of this team. Aaron Jones is fighting to return. The defense is adjusting without losing its identity. The media keeps doubting, but Kevin O'Connell stays steady, and the locker room's responding. With McCarthy improving every week, the Vikings are starting to believe again. The Purple Faithful have real reasons to dream, and that energy needs to keep rolling. Drop your thoughts below. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes the Purple Faithful. The conversation continues in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go!